The secret to losing weight 2 times faster has gone viral. See the transformations hundreds of thousands of men, women, and teens are experiencing around the world with the Slender Eyes drops. These homeopathic hormone balancing drops are proven to control appetite, support thyroid function, improve energy, boost mood, and increase metabolic rate. To learn more about the drops or other incredible natural wellness and lifestyle products, email me at Danielle@freedomstate.us or visit the Shop Our Partners page at freedomstate.us. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to For the Love of Freedom. Today is Wednesday, November 19th. It's 10 a.m. Central, and we are streaming live on Voice of the People, USA TV and Radio Network, on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. Wherever you're watching or listening, please like it, share it, leave us something in the comments so I can know what you think about it. And as a reminder, you can always catch us on the audio-only podcast platforms the day after we go live. Well, I'm your host, Danielle Walker, and on this show, we meet people who have rejected the status quo, who've broken with convention, have broken with the belief that the TV or the textbooks tell them the truth, and each of my guests in their own way are working to bring freedom to the world. Let me bring in my guest for today. All right. Well, joining us today is someone who has become a fast friend. He's an author, a philanthropist, and a financial strategist. Join me in welcoming Sean Briscombe back to the show.
Thank you,
Welcome, Sean.
Danielle.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming back and coming back so quickly. Sean, I wanted to be sure to get you back on the show before the end of the year because you have some important strategies that can help this audience reduce their tax bill when it comes due next year. And I know tax season can be a stressful one. I had a very protracted and stressful tax season myself this year. Um, I think there's some things that you're going to be able to share with us today that can help us avoid some of that. So I'm looking forward to that. Before we get into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
discussion, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you're right on. Spot on. There's several strategies that the wealthy elite use that we can all use, to lower our tax bill.
Awesome. That's what I want. I want those wealthy elite tax strategies. And apologies, everyone. I don't know if you can hear it, but I have a little bit of echo in my ear. So if y'all are having any disruption, my apologies. We couldn't figure out how to get it fixed before we came on. But let me read the scripture that I'd love to use to frame out this discussion. And I just think it's so good. It's Psalm chapter 18, verse 25. And it says, Lord, it's clear to me now that how we live will dictate how you deal with us. Good people will taste your goodness, Lord, and those who are loyal to you, uh, you you love to prove that you are loyal and true. And the reason I love that is because um, you think about the holiday season and you think about what we're about to walk into, and it's a joyous season. It's a very difficult season for some people, and would you maybe just start us out, Sean, with why giving is so important to you? I mean, you've talked to us about that, but would you maybe, instead of telling us why it's so important to you, why is it so important to God? Because that's what this scripture kind of reflects to me, that he takes note.
Yeah, yeah. In my mind, I think that philanthropy is the only thing that's going to change the world. You know, if we focus on philanthropy first, on giving back in a more meaningful way, a more impactful way, everything shifts in our life. But we have to start from that focus. And a lot of us just get stuck there because we don't know what our mission and purpose should be. You know, I love to talk to clients and, I ask them, I say, do you have a mission and purpose statement? And I go over this in my book, The Truth About Taxes, How the Wealthy Elite Play a Different Game.
Yeah.
And I walk people through this whole process because I believe it's so important for us to not just look at where are you at financially today, but if we could change things and we could really do what we're talking about doing, what would you do with all that cash? Like that's a lot of money for everybody, for anybody, you know?
Yeah. And if, Sean, if you were to get pushed back on a little bit and somebody would say, well, philanthropy is good, but just giving people something doesn't necessarily turn the needle. Look at the government. How would you
Sure.
respond to that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer that private citizens are much more efficient than bureaucracies, you know? Like the whole concept of the Bible is small groups, that we do best in small groups, right? And
Yeah.
our nation has gotten so big and so huge. Our economy that's been centrally planned and centrally controlled, we talked about this before, it's gotten so big that it's just imploding on itself. And I
Yeah.
believe it's going to go back to small groups, local communities helping each other out and serving each other. And so if we can just get ahead of that, you know, and not get caught up in that crash, which is kind of the inevitable end to this whole game,
Yeah.
you know, we can change things for our family. You can literally change your family's bloodline by focusing on philanthropy first,
Yeah.
you know.
And decentralization is going to be a part of that. Whether
Yeah,
whether it comes before or after, it's going to be a part of that.
it is. Well, you know, in 1913 when the IRS was formed, Congress went to the five wealthiest families and they said, look, we got this problem. We're expanding the country. We got to build things out. We've got to start collecting tax. We're going to collect it on the wealthiest people. And at the time, it was, the numbers are crazy, but I'll go through them real quick. It
Yeah.
was those income earners that made $20,000 a year or more were going to get 1% taxed on their income. Well, back in 1913, 20,000 a year was the equivalent to over 515,000 today. So if you were making half a million bucks back then, you were taxed at 1%, you know?
And I
And then
bet they were pretty steamed about that.
they were furious. And so here's what the government made a deal. They said, look, if you take it on yourself to give back to the community and to be charitable, we'll leave you alone. But you have to relinquish your ownership of your stuff. You can't own your stuff because whoever owns their stuff, we're going to tax it. So they told them if you create these trusts or these foundations, these private family foundations, these charities, that they would be under the tax code 501c3 and they would be tax exempt. They said if you give to those entities that you control the money, but you don't own it anymore, and it's for the public good, we'll leave you alone. And that's been the system forever, for 110 years now, 112
Amazing.
years now,
And
you
of
know?
course, now that we're looking at them, we see that a lot of those 501c3s have gone to do a lot of harm and a lot of evil, but there are plenty that are doing good.
Yeah, the whole industry has been, you know, it's been corrupted just like everything else in America. Like if you
Yeah.
look at every system in America, the systems are what corrupts things. It's not the people necessarily. The individual citizens, the sovereign citizens are fine when we do things on our own, when we help each other out, you know,
Yeah.
when we focus on ourselves, our families, and our community. Everything works
Imagine
great.
that. Imagine that. We barely need government.
No, you don't need government at all. There's no need for government. Government is just an oppressive force. That's all
Yeah.
it is. It's a system that ultimately ends in corruption every step of the way, whether it's education, medical, financial, whatever. You know, it doesn't matter. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
we're just seeing the end game.
We are
We
seeing the
just
end
need
game.
we need to hit the reboot button and start over. You know?
I think we're pretty close to the reboot button personally.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's you know, a safe and, you know, positive transition instead of revolution or something crazy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I prefer no crash landing if we can avoid it.
Yeah. What did
Well,
Franklin say? Liberty has to be, you know, the thirst of liberty has to be quenched by the blood of tyrants on occasion.
yeah. Yeah. I was just looking at the state motto of Virginia, and it's thus always to tyrants,
Mm,
meaning that they will inevitably fall. And
mm,
I think that's the spirit that needs to rise back up in the American people.
mm,
Because I think until the politicians have respect and fear, a healthy fear, a
mm.
reverential fear of the people again, we're going to be stuck in this
Yeah, that's what it
loggerhead.
is. It's a reverence and a, you know, it's respect. They don't
Yeah,
respect the citizens, and we
they
feel
don't.
it. So
Yeah, we feel it. It's absolute disdain. That's something I talk to my co-host about pretty often. We see
yeah,
the politicians looking down their noses at us and just completely disregarding the will of the people, and it's just not going to end well for them, uh,
yeah.
career-wise, and
Well,
probably not
we all know the truth is the
reputation-wise.
opposite.
Yeah,
Yeah, we all know the truth is the opposite, right?
exactly,
But we don't
exactly.
have to say anything. You know, so in 1913, the Congress went to the wealthy elite and they said, hey, listen, we got to collect tax, but here's the deal. If you set up these foundations and give back, we'll leave you alone. And so since that moment, your taxes, where your tax dollars go, has always been your choice. You can either have them taken out of your paycheck and go to Uncle Sam, it's your choice, or you can adjust your withholdings, don't have them taken out of your paycheck. Still got to take out FICA, FUTA, Medicare, stuff like that. Those are social programs that are unfunded, you know, that are going to crash anyway. It's a
Mhm.
different topic. But your income tax, you don't have to have them take it out of your paycheck. And if you get that money, you can donate it to your private family foundation and write it all off, all of it, up to 30% of your adjusted gross income. So on your W-2 income, you know, unfortunately, if you got $1 million and you gave it all away,
Yeah.
you could only write off 300 grand. You'd have to pay tax on $600,000 still. If your business does the same thing, made $1 million, gave it all away, the business could write off 60%. Still got to pay tax on the 30%.
Mhm.
So what the wealthy elite do is they set up trusts. They send the money to the trust. Trust makes $1 million, gives it all away, and the trust can write off 100%.
So
So
sneaky.
it's when you understand the rules of the game, you can win the game. And
That's
they
right.
just understand the rules of the game, you know?
That's right. Well, because most people don't feel like they have a choice, right? You said you have a choice in how your tax dollar what happens with those tax dollars.
Yeah.
And most of us have no concept that we have a choice. We feel the choice is take your little bag to the CPA and hand over all your cash. Yeah.
You know, we talked about Apogee schools, right? In the Apogee organization that I work with, it's just a different way of teaching kids and parents these kinds of concepts and strategies and ideas. It's a different school system where we do this stuff instead of what they learn in public school, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was talking to a parent. He's an airline pilot, flies for a major airline, great guy, you know, young. He
Mhm.
makes really good income, 400,000 a year, but it's all W-2.
Yeah.
And he's always had a passion. The family's always had a passion for education. And, you know, they're in Apogee School, and he wants to set up Apogee schools in India. And so we set up a foundation for him, right? And he calls me at the end of last year and he says, okay, how much do I donate to the foundation to maximize my write off? Now, he's had taxes taken out of his paycheck along the way. So they've taken money from his paycheck during this
Mhm.
whole time. And so we do a little simple calculation and we've come up with it, you know, if you donate $62,000 to your foundation, you will get to keep that money. It's all tax exempt now, and you can use that money as charitable dollars for education in India to set up schools in India, right? Plus, the government, it will trigger a $28,000 refund. So you'll get
How
$28,000 back from the bank
how does
or
that work?
from the government, from Uncle Sam, from the IRS, you know? Because he dropped his taxable income because of the deduction. We maximized it,
Wow.
okay?
Yeah.
He took standard deductions and all the other stuff, got his AGI down as low as we could, and we donated the full 30%,
That's amazing.
maximizing it even greater, lowering it to another bracket, triggering a refund from the IRS. So in that one decision, thinking about donation, it's a $90,000 swing in his favor. That's just year one. If he does this
That's
every year for the
amazing.
next 10 years, that's $1 million, you know?
Yeah.
And all we're doing is keeping the money instead of leaking it out and letting it go to what, Ukraine, if we're being honest, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Nancy Pelosi. Um, okay, so I want to get into a little bit more of that, but before maybe would you as we think about this holiday season, would you encourage people on how to look at spending and giving because we think a lot about giving to our families, maybe giving to our communities in terms of gifts and spending dollars instead of investing dollars.
Yeah. You know, I tend to think more, I'm more legacy minded. I call it legacy minded.
Yeah.
I don't think about retirement at all. Retirement You know, we joked about this. The definition of to retire is to lay down as if dead. I don't want to do
Jeez.
that. You know, I have bigger
Yeah.
plans. So I'm thinking second, third generation. So what I'm focused on now is in giving any gift that we give. You know, we're called to tithe first, right? To be generous with the tithe first, right off the bat.
Yeah.
We're also called to help others, you know, widows and orphans, you know, specifically. And, you know, there's so many different ways that we can get involved and help each other out and give back and make a bigger impact that and I promise you, if you sit down with your family this Christmas and you start to work on your mission and purpose statement, do we have time for me to map it out and draw it
Yeah.
out for
Yeah,
folks?
we've got time. Yeah. Yeah, I would love that.
Can I share my
I think
screen?
it'll help a lot of people. Yeah, you should have a button at the bottom right there,
Let me go
Sean.
through this real quick. Perfect. I'm going to share my screen and draw some pictures for y'all.
Okay.
So, and what we're talking about is that focus on the future, that legacy focus. We're talking about just creating a focal point for the whole family, a way that you can focus like a laser beam and let's see.
And I have done this exercise. I bought your book and I read it like a very good student, probably in a day or a day and a half,
Mhm.
and went through this process. And I just found it so encouraging because it helps you sharpen your focus. It helps remind you what you're working on that is a waste of your time and what you're working on that's going to actually get you where you want to go. So I think this is a great exercise for anybody who's watching.
I think you might have to let me share my screen.
Oh, shoot. I have a share on my side. I don't know if there's a way for me to give. I feel like, is there no button down at the bottom that says share?
There is, but I think it's waiting for permission from you or
Oh,
someone.
it's not. I don't have a notification.
I
Let me see.
apologize.
Well,
Well, let me just start talking about it verbally for a
sure.
little bit. So what we do is we walk clients through this process, and the process is to declare their mission and purpose statement. And this mission and purpose statement is to unify the family and get them all thinking in a unified singular direction on something. Okay? And so we break it into 4 different quadrants. We break it into what are your unique talents and abilities, your God-given talents and abilities that are unique to you. What are your passions? What are you passionate about? Why do you wake up in the morning? When you wake up and your feet hit the ground, what do you get excited about? You know,
Yeah.
we like to focus on that. We also focus on what are your values? What do you hold dear to you? What is the most valuable thing in your life? You know, and then ultimately the last quadrant is what are your beliefs? What do you believe to be true about yourself and the world around you? We get the family to huddle around a table, get a big sheet of paper, put a big cross in the middle with those 4 quadrants, put passions, talents, values, and beliefs in there, and just start writing, asking people to go around. What are our talents? What are you uniquely talented in? We write everything down. And then after a while, you start to circle things that everybody in the family has in common. You know, everybody's talents are going to be different. Everybody's passions are going to be different. But there are going to be some commonalities that are family talents, that are unique to the family, the unit, unique passions that everybody's excited about. You
Yeah.
know, you start to circle those things. And what happens is you pray about it. And what happens is out of the words comes this statement about you and your family and what your mission and purpose is in life. And we codify that. We write it down and we create a family mission and purpose statement. And that guides people into the future forever. It's going to guide your family for generations. Okay? So, right off the bat, we're getting everybody to think about the future and being
Yeah.
legacy minded. Stop focusing on making money today. How am I going to make more money? You know,
Yeah.
what am I going to do to make more money? So it's just it's a different process. It starts to open those parts of the mind where you can see into the future and really clarify what do I want and why does that matter to me? What do I want and why does that matter? What do I ultimately want from life? What do I ultimately want from this job, this income? And why is that important? And if you
Yeah.
can hold on to those things, when you get into the pit and you lose your job and the money stops and the bills are piling up and there's no way, no hope, if you can cling to your what matters to you most and why it's important, that will get you through that period of time. It'll keep you focused, it'll keep you in front of the right people. You'll have new opportunities emerge that you never thought possible, you know. But it's focusing on your mission and purpose that's the solution. It's not focusing on where's the money going to come from, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And even in the holidays, maybe it's, you still want to be a blessing to people, but there's a way to even be a double blessing to people. Like you can make a gift in someone's name, perhaps, to a cause that's dear to them. When you think about, for instance, Apogee, what are some ways that people can best position themselves for tax savings through giving, in the frame of this, we're at the end of the year and we want to avoid maximum pain?
Sure. So low hanging fruit is
Yeah.
we have a 501c3. We have a foundation. It's called Apogee Education Foundation. We're having a massive fundraising gala at the end of this year. December 5th is our gala event. If you go to legendsforleaders.org, we call the kids young leaders. And we have mentors that come and mentor to these young leaders. And we call those mentors legends. And so this whole party, this whole gala event is going to be all of those mentors getting together, right? Now, when you hit the site, you'll be able to see who we're talking about. Some of them are pretty famous. And so if you want to come and join us, we'd love to see you. Hang out with these legends. It's going to be adults only. We're just raising as much money as we can for the kids. We've got an auction that we're going to be doing. You can give on the donation page right there as well. But if you're trying to figure out a way to lower your taxes, this is the simplest, easiest, low-hanging fruit way to do it. You know, after something like this, the next logical step is maybe take a look at creating your own family foundation. You know,
Yeah.
maybe that's the next step for you. Maybe it's time to start thinking more in terms of legacy and less about retirement, you know, and start working that today.
Yeah. And Sean, going back to your example of the pilot who you helped set up a foundation for, what is the time frame for getting a foundation set up? Like if people are looking at the end of the year and they're saying, gosh, it's a time crunch, I would
Yeah,
sure love to save that chunk of cash and give it to something important to me
sure.
instead of to Uncle Sam as they, spit in my face.
Sure. Yeah. So good question. We can do this very quickly. It takes about 2 weeks to get it set up. 14 business days. So maybe a
Okay.
month. Plan on a month. But the most important, if you really, really want to do it this year, this calendar year, and make the maximum impact to you and your family, we can do that. But there's a lot of work to be done. So we got to kind of scramble.
Okay. Yeah.
So
But
if you're
it's not
committed,
impossible if you're
it's not
committed.
impossible at all. We can do it in 2 weeks. We can get you
Okay.
the EIN number for your new foundation. We can get it registered with the IRS. We can get the 501c3 nonprofit status letter in like 10 days. We have relationships with the government, with the IRS agents that are in the nonprofit department. And so
Okay.
they're very, very kind over there. It's a totally different world in the nonprofit world with the IRS. It's crazy. Like they pick up the phone and they're like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Briscombe, how can we help you out?" You know, like it's
No, I
totally
don't
different.
know. I
It is
don't know.
completely different. It's a whole different world. It's funny.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so it's yeah, we can get it done. And what we would do is we would calculate the need. What is the maximum deduction that you would need to send over there? And here's the kicker. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
We have until April 5th of next year to make that donation, to move that money for it to count for the 2025 tax year. So we have
Oh,
until next April, April 5th, for you to actually pull this off. We have to get the foundation set up in this calendar year before December 31st,
okay.
but you have until April 5th to actually move the money around and make it work, if that makes
Awesome.
sense.
Yeah, that makes
So
perfect sense. So it does make it sound more achievable.
it does. Now here's the caveat. This is not for everybody, you
Yeah.
know. It's expensive to set up, and primarily it's expensive because the documentation needed to operate these private family foundations, the way that we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
you can get a standard, you can go online and probably get a standard operating agreement for a nonprofit,
Yeah.
but it's not going to allow you to do the things that we're talking about doing. It's going to be very restrictive. There are 10 different types of nonprofits, 10 different types of 501c3s, and each one does something specific. Okay? Some are for medical, some are for education, some are just at the state level, some are at the federal level. So it's very specific what we're talking about. These family
Yeah.
foundations, private family foundations, give you a ton of flexibility and control over the money in that foundation, in that 501c3. That's the whole kicker, is that you control the funds.
And tell me one more time. Okay, so I know a few very generous people. If these people are, for instance, entrepreneurs, and they are already giving a good amount of money to charitable causes,
Mm-hmm.
can you give me again the analogy of how much more they would be able to give if they were to shift from what they're doing, the way they're doing it, the standard operating procedure given to mere mortals versus the wealthy elite
Sure.
hidden method?
Sure. So it's in simplest terms, what the situation you described is that the wealthy people that are giving consistently are still paying tax up front or still paying tax on the 1040 side. You know,
Okay.
what the wealthy elite do is they give up ownership of their money to these entities. And when you give up ownership but don't lose control, you're still in control of the funds. You're controlling everything that happens in that entity, right?
A trustee?
Correct. But you're not the owner. It's not
Yeah.
for you. It's not your money, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you create that situation, you're no longer taxed on anything or that money. You still probably take a little bit of income, right?
Okay.
And you pay tax on that. But it's not the same scenario. If your income is over what 250 now, you're paying in the 37% tax bracket, the highest bracket possible. And
It's so
so,
sick.
what if we dropped it down to just you making, and this is where people get confused. They're like, well, if I don't make money, how am I going to pay the bills? Right? Well, the wealthy elite still pay their bills. The bills still get paid, right?
Yeah.
They still live life. They eat, they drink, they travel, they have clothes, they have houses. It's not their houses, not their clothes, not their planes, right? Might be the foundation's jet.
There you go. Yeah, they just run their expenses through either the foundation or their business, right?
Yeah, yeah. Think about running your business and the deductions you're able to take in a business versus just personal income, where you're very limited in those deductions. Now take that and extrapolate it times 1,000 in trusts and foundations. Your expenses go to what, virtually zero. So how much income would you have to take if everything's paid for? Your housing, healthcare, education, insurance, all your necessities, your maintenance costs for the whole family, the children, grandchildren, any beneficiaries. It could change things drastically. Now,
It could, yeah, definitely.
now there's cases, and you can find those cases out there. It's easy to find of abuse of this kind of structure,
Yeah.
and the IRS is just, they're sticklers for that stuff. So if there's any kind of self-dealing where you're benefiting and you're in control of the money or you're the trustee, that's where that's where the line is drawn. They don't play games with that. you know there was a
Mm-hmm.
case where that happened to Donald Trump, where his foundation, one of the foundations he has, was donating a painting or auctioning off a painting of him, and nobody bid on it, so he bought it personally and
Mm-hmm.
just donated the money to the foundation. Well, the IRS triggered that and said that was a conflict of interest, that it was self-dealing, and
Hmm.
they nullified the 501c3 status of his organization.
Jeez.
So there's big, you know, ramifications of not playing by the rules of the game. In his
Yeah.
scenario, what he did was he just transferred all the assets into one of the other foundations.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah, but But stuff you got to watch out for. You still got to play by the rules of the game. You can't
Okay.
abuse this stuff. You know, there's no
Yeah.
self dealing. If you're going to do this, it's truly money you're giving away to charity, and you're just getting to be the steward of it, you know,
Yeah.
which is my whole thing. I'm like, that's what we're called to do, anyways, is just be a steward of what we're blessed with. So
Yeah.
if that's the truth, let's start acting that way, you know?
Absolutely. And you can get a bigger bang for your buck on some education tax deductions as well. Is that right?
What do you mean in terms of?
Well, I guess just that you can't, like, I know you had sent me a couple of ideas on ways that would specifically benefit you with education. So if you, for instance, were putting money into an account for your child's education,
Yeah, so a
th-
529 plan, you know, that account is locked away and is controlled by someone else. You know, you could do the same thing with other accounts. So if you have somebody that has educational needs, these private foundations can give scholarships or grants for educational purposes or program related expenses and costs and fees. And that's just a check that you can write to the individual. You know, you just document it correctly inside of the foundation and what it was for, and maybe do a checkup, you know, make sure they spent the money on what they said they were going to spend it on. That's kind of important, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, but it's a much bigger impact. It's a write off to you when you donate to the foundation, and then that goes to the educational expense, you know, tuition, room and board, whatever it is.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. And especially now, parents can do this as well. Is this a big benefit to parents or grandparents?
It is. It is. You know, you got to watch certain rules of the game, like we talked about. And there's no self dealing. So, you know, if they're donating to their foundation and then they're paying their own personal tuition bills that are coming in to them personally from the
Okay. So that
university,
might be a no go.
right? But if it's to somebody else or it's to a kid that you're sponsoring, you know, it's a different scenario.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we just got to every situation. This is the thing. So everything I'm talking about, none of it is personal, you know, legal or financial or tax advice, right? Everybody's situation is going to be different. So we got to look at I call it your personal economy. You know, we always talk about the global economy, the national economy. You have a personal economy too. So
Yeah.
we got to analyze your personal economy and see what is a right fit for you. You know, none of this stuff is a blanket fit for everybody. You know,
Yeah.
it's literally it's just estate planning. So estate planning is very very individual.
Yeah. Now, if you're looking at someone who has who's living in a traditional W-2 world, and you're giving them advice on how to just help out their tax bill, this is
Mm-hmm.
just your average Joe. What would you say for them as they're going into the year end?
I would say we should analyze everything first, take a look at everything and see are there certain tax leaks that we can stop, that we can plug the holes and stop the bleeding. You know, that to me
Can
is
you
first
give
and
some examples
foremost.
of what tax leaks might be?
Sure. If all of your money is coming in W 2, that's a problem. That's a problem. So, can you change your income from W 2 or just completely have them not take away any taxes in your W 2 paycheck, right?
Okay.
I mean, the concept here is pay yourself first. Don't pay Uncle Sam first. Don't pay the credit cards first. Pay yourself first. That's what one of the biggest principles that the wealthy elite all understand. You know, they pay themselves first. All of
Okay.
their money comes into their trusts, all of it, 100%. And then from there, they decide who they're going to pay and what bills they're going to pay and who's going to get anything,
That
you
sounds
know?
like sovereignty, Sean.
Quite the opposite of what we're taught, trained, and educated to do in school,
Yeah.
you know?
Indoctrinated.
Yeah. I mean, we're taught to get a job, work 40 hours a week for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Government pays, you know, gets their cut first. And then you got to pay the bills. And
Yeah.
whatever's left over, maybe that's what you can save for that legacy thing that you're thinking about, you know? And in most cases, that's less than 2% of what's left over.
Yeah.
So just different ways of skinning the cat. It's trying to think of, as the money's coming in, what is the highest and best use of it? How can I stop the bleeding, cut the losses, save more of that cash ongoing?
Yeah.
What would that look like if you extrapolated out over your entire working career or your entire life? Because you're going to get Social Security and other income after retirement. It's not like your
Yeah.
income stops at retirement, right?
Exactly. And if people, for instance, have a home based business in addition to a W 2 or separate from a W 2, do you find that a 1099 is a useful thing in that instance?
Yes, because when you're 1099, you have a little bit more control over the funds first. What we're talking about is control.
Okay.
So I think I figured out how to share my screen.
Share it.
All right. Let me see here.
Look at that. Okay. I wonder if I can. There you go.
Okay. So
Perfect.
this is what I'm talking about here, folks. If say you're 40 years old, this is the case study of the airline pilot that we were talking about before.
Okay.
40-year-old man, working until he's 65 for a major airline, making 400,000 a year. Let's say that his salary increases by maybe 5% just to stay up with the cost of living, even though we know inflation's much higher. Has about 50,000 in savings, and let's say that can grow at a rate of, I don't know, 5 or 6%, whatever.
Okay.
Look at how much money is going through that personal economy just in the next 25 years. $19 million.
Jeez.
$19 million of his income. And when you add the savings growing at any kind of rate, you're talking $34 million.
Good grief.
So the first thing we do is we say, okay, do you have a mechanism or a way to keep that money and save that money? Because most people don't. What happens is when we, you know, when we don't do anything with that, if we were able to save that money, you'd be able to keep it in some kind of account somewhere. It would grow to $34 million over time, right? But with taxes, when we pay taxes, even at 30%, now he's in a higher tax bracket. Let's say he's paying, let's say he's paying 34% total taxes. Just between now and retirement age, look at how much wealth he's transferring out of his personal economy. $11.5 million.
That's disgusting.
So here's the question I ask folks. If I could save this money for you, $11.5 million, and write you a check today for $11.5 million, what would you do with the money? Most people don't have an idea. They don't have any plan.
Right.
And so because there's no plan, what happens is the money goes in here in the income tank, goes through this pipe, and just leaks out through taxes, debt service, education, food, fuel, fashion, fun, all that stuff that we pay for on a
Yeah.
regular basis. It just leaks out over time. And so if you could stop that, shut that tax valve down, keep that money, take it
Mm-hmm.
and do something. You could either save it or invest it or do something else with it. What would you do with the money? That's what we start to ask people.
How many of the clients you have, how many people got really excited when you asked them that question? Those are the clients you keep, I guess.
Yeah, because then they start seeing that's the real impact of wealth over time, you
Yeah.
know? And we all have that, you know, that potential of that kind of income over our working career. If you're a young, healthy, person that just got their first job and they're making really good money and the sky's the limit, we need to talk immediately. If you're at the end of the game and ready to retire and you've accumulated some wealth and you don't know what to do with it, we need to talk immediately. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like in both those scenarios, we need to talk immediately because if you follow the herd and do exactly what you've been taught, trained, and educated to do in the public education system, you will get the result that you see out there today with everybody else.
Yeah.
And if that's the result you want, then great, keep going. Don't let me stand in your way, right?
Would you go back to that other screen, Sean? What I love about that other screen, not that one, the
The,
pipes and tubes.
the pipes and tubes, the personal economy.
Yeah.
So this is a depiction, this is a graphic of what I call your personal economy. And it just shows money coming in the front door. This is your income tank and where that money goes.
What I love about this is that it just forces you to really consider why you're working.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point, especially since the first person to get paid is Uncle Sam
That's
in
right.
most scenarios. Second person to get paid is the banks and credit unions and credit cards. Debt
So if you can
service.
so if you can become the master of your own capital, then you have a totally different game.
Completely different. I mean, look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers. So that's taxes. If you have debt service, if you're going to buy a new home today and you go to a mortgage lender, the most that they'll qualify you for is 34% of your monthly income in all debt service. That goes for credit cards, student loans, car loans, and the new home loan. So just between taxes and debt service, look at the leakage. 23 million. That's just over your working career. Lifestyle expenses account for anywhere from 20 to 40%. So I'll call it 30.
Well, no kidding. I'm thinking about, oh, my Spotify account could be paid for by by my business
Exactly. But
instead of by my self.
this is what I was talking about before is when you pay taxes and you pay for the debt service every month and you pay for the expenses, the overhead expenses of what you got to deal with for life, food, fuel, fashion, fun, it leaves you very little money to save for that legacy. And that's the problem that everybody has in America.
Yeah.
It's not that we're not saving. Well, it is that we're not saving. It's not that we're not investing. We are investing in the market. We're trying to do the right thing. We're paying our taxes. We're not winning this game. It's because we're doing things the opposite. What if we could shut this tax valve down? Not pay taxes up front? What if we could clamp down on this valve and not pay for your food and fuel, fashion and fun, housing, healthcare, insurance, education, all your overhead, your expenses, but take that money and save it in a trust or some kind of safe vehicle where it's growing and compounding
Yeah.
forever. And then you can use that money to do things. Just think about the amount that you would capture over time if you were able to do that. You reverse this tax bill and maybe you save 20% of your tax savings and you knock it down to 14%. In your debt service, you clean that up. We reverse everything, pay off all your debt, or minimize the debt service. Maybe it's just your mortgage now. And we try to work on that lifestyle and not spend as much up front. Look what happens to the numbers at the bottom, the savings versus spent.
Dang, that's a big difference.
And do you think you're going to die at the ripe old age of 65? You're
Better
probably
not.
going to live a lot longer. Look at the impact here. It's leakage versus being a good steward. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Are we being intentional about where we're putting our money, or are we just letting the government tell us what to do with it?
That's right. That's
So
right.
anyway, it's a lot of a lot of stuff like that that we talk about with clients. But the focal point is again, that's a lot of wealth over time. On a normal pay scale, that's still millions and millions of dollars in taxes and loss, right?
Yeah.
So again, if we could write you a check for that amount of money today, what would you do with it? And
Yeah.
people say the same thing. They want to, spend some, save some, and invest some, right? Maybe take the family on a trip, have some fun,
Yeah.
pay off all your bills, be debt free, then invest the rest, right?
Yeah.
Well, if that's the truth, why aren't we doing that now? If that's what you want to do, if that's what you would do with the money, why aren't we doing that right now along the way, intentionally? You know? So
Well,
it's more about strategy and planning and just discipline and focusing on your mission and purpose and why you're here, what you're supposed to be doing.
I love that. Well, just knowing that it's possible, right? Because knowing that you don't have to follow the prescribed agenda that we've all been indoctrinated or propagandized to believe is our fate and our duty as Americans,
Yeah.
to maximize the amount of money we give to Uncle Sam. If we realize that that's not our fate, then we can take steps to do something different.
I believe it's the opposite. I believe that we're called to be better stewards of what we've been blessed with so that we can help more people.
Yeah,
That doesn't, there's nowhere in that statement does it say anything about giving money to Uncle Sam or the government,
that's
ever.
right.
You know, my favorite verse in this tax game is Matthew 17. I think it's 24 to 27. It's when they're in Capernaum, they go to the water and the tax collectors approach them
Mm-hmm.
and they say, "Hey, does your rabbi pay the temple tax?" And Peter gets all pissed off and he like bows up and he's like, "Of course he does." And he goes into the house where Jesus is, and Jesus, of course, knows what they've been talking about already. And so he just blurts out, "Hey, Peter, who pays the temple tax? Is it citizens or foreigners?" And the answer is foreigners. Throughout history, taxes have always been collected on foreigners, never the citizens. And so Jesus says, "Well, listen, we don't want to offend anybody. So, Peter, go to the water, throw in your line. In the first fish that you catch, open its mouth, and you'll find 4 drachma. Go to the temple and pay the tax for both of us, 2 drachma each." So the tax was 2 drachma. It wasn't a bag full of coins. It wasn't 37%. It wasn't 12%.
Yeah.
It was 2 coins, 2 pennies, you know, the equivalent of 2 pennies.
Yeah, it's run away from us. And even I remember being in college, probably econ or something like that, econ 101, and would say, they would just remark at how much better our tax rates were than Europe's. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just so insane. It's like,
My favorite example over there is Greece. You know,
gosh, yeah.
Greece has been in, and nobody knows this, but I'll just be the one to tell everybody. Greece has been in sovereign default for the last 280 out of 400 years. They're in constant default. You know why? They
Why?
tax they tax everybody to the hilt, and
Yeah,
nobody lives there. Nobody pays the tax anymore.
yeah,
Everybody has a bank in Gibraltar, which is an independent island that nobody has. You know, it's sovereign island that nobody has control over, and they're not taxed there.
yeah. I
So
saw
they
this week that Italy on over, I think, less than, I don't know if it's 54% unemployment because no one wants to claim that they're employed because the taxes are so high.
exactly. Why
So
would
it's
you?
gotten
You
out of
know?
control. It's gotten
Yeah,
completely out of control.
yeah.
But
So,
there are ways to regain
well,
control.
yeah. The solution is to create an island, be your own sovereign entity, something that and give up. Here's the biblical part. It says, "Give up everything and follow me." Right? How many listeners out there have done that? Given up everything. Did you
Right.
know there's a way to do that where you can give up ownership of your stuff but never lose control of it and still maintain that mission and purpose that you feel called to do?
I
It's
think this
written
is blowing
into
some
the
people's
code.
minds.
The
Yeah.
Bible is written into our tax code and we don't follow it. Why? Because we don't follow the Bible.
Ooh.
You
Yep.
know, we're called to be better stewards of what we've been blessed with, and we waste money like crazy. We give it to Uncle Sam to go spend it on what?
Yeah.
That's our
Exactly.
fault. It's not their fault. It's our fault. It's our individual responsibility to keep this cash. You
Yeah.
know, at the very least, give it to these kids at Apogee School instead of Uncle Sam.
Yeah. Remind us of the date of the gala
Sure,
and where people
December
can find it.
5th, legendsforleaders.org. We made it a .org because it's tax deductible.
There you
And
go.
every deduction there is deductible to you. And you can calculate your tax bill for the whole year and your adjusted gross income, figure out what 30% of that number is, donate it here, and you'll get a refund from the government. Not for the whole amount, but you'll get a
Yeah.
substantial refund. It'll knock you down to the lower bracket is what it does.
Well,
So
that's
it
worth it.
automatically triggers a refund.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
you give 30 and you get 10 back maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. I hate that term. Sorry.
Well, it's okay.
It's economically beneficial to you. How
Yeah.
about that?
Perfect.
And if it's in line with your mission and purpose, that's the best thing, So
Absolutely. Any parting words of wisdom for us today, Sean? You have been just a fire hydrant of wisdom. And I know people are going to want to watch this more than once to soak it
sure,
in. But be sure and tell us how people can find you as well if they're interested in getting that foundation set up before the end of the year
sure,
or taking a look at their personal economy with you.
sure. The easiest way to find me and to engage is to go to SeanBriscombe.com. It's
All right. We got that.
SeanBriscombe.com.
Perfect.
And it's just it's my calendar link. So it's, click on the button, schedule a call. There'll be a form that you fill out that tells me where your stuff is so that we can kind of go through it, get clear about where I like to get clear about where you're at today and then get clear about what you want to do ultimately in the future,
Yeah.
right? And then once we are clear on those two things, we just create a roadmap and reverse engineer the process,
Yeah.
you know?
Awesome. Well, it's been a great experience for me so far. I'll give you a gold star. And the book really has given me a lot of food for thought and fired me up on this topic. If taxes aren't enough to make you angry, reading that book will help you. Will help you also be angry, but it's anger that you can direct.
Yeah, it's just kind of a peek behind the curtain, kind of exposes what the wealthy elite do.
That's right.
So,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with me today, Sean.
of
It's
course.
always a pleasure. We will be getting you back early next year to talk about some other things, but I appreciate your tips and just being so generous with the insights that you've worked really hard to find.
Well, you're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, Sean. We'll be talking to you soon.
All right.
God bless.
You too. Bye.
Meet the world's first living, full-spectrum, certified organic CBDA hemp extract. Ness's hemp oil was extracted from seed to bottle without chemicals, solvents, or heavy metals, and it surpasses world-class standards for purity. This pure and powerful CBDA has been proven to reduce aches and pains, ease mental tension, and promote better sleep. To get yours today, visit the Shop Our Partners page at freedomstate.us. Hey, Danielle Walker here. I'd love for you to check out my online boutique, Lux Lion. My mission for Lux Lion is to showcase innovative African designers and sustainable, mission-driven brands. To do that, I bring you stunningly beautiful, handcrafted jewelry and accessories from some of my absolute favorite places on earth. Small batch wholesale for storefronts is also available. Join me in celebrating African artistry and shop now at luxlion.us. Use promo code FREEDOM for an additional 10% off your purchase. Thanks for joining me today on For the Love of Freedom. It is an honor and a true privilege to get to spend some time with you. If you're looking for other episodes of this show, you can find them on all of the State of Freedom platforms. And a reminder that this show is live on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Central. God bless.